It is the defiant roar that has shattered the silence of the weekend and sent a clear, unshakable message to the federal government in Abuja that the walls of a prison cell cannot contain an ideology. If you thought the life imprisonment sentence handed down to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu would serve as the final nail in the coffin of the Biafra agitation, you need to listen very closely to what has just happened in the heart of Igbo land. The headline is not just a statement, it is a declaration of war against the very idea of surrender. A massive coalition of pro-Biafra groups has risen with one voice to declare, sentencing Kanu will never break our spirit. We are broadcasting this special report to bring you the full details of a historic press conference held on Friday in Owerri, Imo State, where the fractured groups of the struggle finally came together to draw a line in the sand. We are looking at the emergence of a new, unified front that includes not just MASSOB and IPOB sympathizers, but a coalition of 8 distinct organizations, including the Eastern People's Congress, the Biafra Revolutionary Force, and the Union of Biafra Scientists and Engineers. They have looked at the judgment of Justice James Omotosho, they have looked at the transfer of their leader to the far north in Sokoto, and their response is not fear. It is a hardened resolve to push even harder for self-determination. Let's get straight to the gist of this powerful declaration. The coalition, led by the leader of the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra, Comrade Uchenna Madu, did not mince words. They totally condemned and rejected the conviction, describing it not as a judicial outcome, but as a product of deepening tribalism and selfish tendencies in the Nigerian state. Comrade Madu stated categorically that the imprisonment of Nnamdi Kanu in faraway Sokoto state will never dampen their spirit. Instead, he revealed a psychological truth that the government might not have calculated. He said the sentence has strengthened us further. They are seeing Kanu not as a convict, but as a martyr and a symbol of their resilience. And this conviction has become the fuel for a new phase of the struggle. But this press conference wasn't just about rhetoric. It was about serious accusations of international law violations. The coalition alleged that the Nigerian state has deliberately violated international treaties on human and people's rights, treaties that Nigeria signed as a member of the United Nations and the African Union. They are arguing that the right to self-determination is a recognized international right, and by criminalizing it with a life sentence, the government is breaking its own international commitment. This is a signal that the battle is moving beyond the Nigerian courts to the international arena, where they intend to hold the state accountable for what they term a violation of their collective rights. Perhaps the most alarming part of their statement is the warning regarding security in the southeast. The coalition raised a red flag about what they called a sponsored influx of ISWAP, Boko Haram, and other terrorist groups into various parts of Nigeria. They vowed that these groups will be resisted and expelled from Biafran land and territory. This is a direct challenge to the security architecture. They are essentially saying that while the government is busy chasing Nnamdi Kanu, the real terrorists are encroaching, and since the government won't protect their land, they will do it themselves. This narrative feeds into the fear that the region is being encircled, a sentiment that Nnamdi Kanu himself has often preached. We also have to look at the call for stronger unity of purpose. For years, the pro-Biafra movement has been divided, with factions fighting each other almost as much as they fight the government. But this life sentence seems to have done what no peace meeting could. It has forced them to unite. The coalition called on all Igbo political activism groups to come together because the struggle for political emancipation has intensified. If these groups truly unite, scientists, revolutionaries, human rights activists, and street agitators under one command, the federal government will be facing a much more formidable and organized challenge than before. So as Nnamdi Kanu sits in his cell in Sokoto, his imprisonment has inadvertently birthed a new hydra-headed monster for the state. The groups have declared that they will continually defend their fatherland and ancestral heritage, sending a message that the physical absence of their leader does not mean the absence of the struggle. The government wanted to break their spirit. Instead, they may have just hardened their resolve. What do you think? Will this new coalition of pro-Biafra groups change the dynamic of the struggle, or is it just more noise? And do you believe the government is ignoring the real threat of ISWAP while focusing on Kanu? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.